Let me open the Databricks wala. Databricks.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Can you please explain us about this alter row, at
Hmm?
the end part, ma'am, target part, the sync part.
Yeah, Altero sync part. I'll tell you. Please remind me in 2-3 days. Na. Let me start with this Databricks for today. Okay, I have
Okay,
not created the database because yesterday we went out.
okay,
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 na?
fine.
I remember. I will do it. Okay, not worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have tried, but
All right.
I got
So
some.
basically, Azure. Hmm?
I have tried this alter row, ma'am, with the different, conditions, but I got few doubts and few errors, so I couldn't clarify those doubts. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. Okay. End of this session, na, we'll try to check your doubts. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Azure Databricks as Data Factory is one of the service which is related to ETL transformation integrated related service. We have this Azure Databricks. So what is this Databricks? This is something like it is an analytical based cloud based service. Okay. So basically Azure Databricks is nothing but it is an analytical based service. So this is also a cloud based service. So why do we make use of this Databricks? So actually Azure Databricks is something like it is an implementation of Apache Spark on Azure. Okay, let me open this notepad. So if you see here, ADB is a cloud-based data engineering tool. Okay, it is a cloud-based service which is meant for processing and performing different kinds of transformations on huge amounts of data. All right. So when do we make use of why do we use this Azure Databricks? This is basically used for processing and transforming huge amounts of data. Suppose if you have massive amounts of data and on that data, if you want to perform different transformations or different data manipulations, right? At that point of time, we can make use of this Azure Databricks. Okay. So Azure Databricks is again a cloud-based service which is meant for processing and performing um, any different analytical purpose, right? If you want to run any particular analysis on huge amounts of workload or huge amounts of data, you make use of your Azure Databricks. So what is this? Actually, this Databricks, right? This Databricks is a software company we have. This is a company. Okay, Databricks is a company. So that company, right? It is a software based company. So if the Databricks is integrated with Azure, we call it as Azure Databricks. If it is integrated with Amazon Web Service, we call it as AWS Databricks. Okay, so we have different kinds of Databricks. If you just Google it, right? So we have one is Azure Databricks, and the other one is AWS, Amazon Web Service related Databricks. So since this Databricks is integrated with your Azure, we call it as ADB, and the other one is we call it as AWS Databricks. Okay. So in Azure, what are we? This particular Azure Databricks is what actually it is an implementation of Apache Spark on Azure. If you see this, we have something called as an Apache Spark. What is this Apache Spark again? This Apache Spark is something like an analytical engine. Okay, so this is nothing but an analytical engine which is used to process huge amounts of data. Okay, so basically Apache Spark is an engine. So for any particular thing to run, we need an engine, right? For a machine to run, we need an engine. For a person to run, we need a heart, something like that, right? So everything we need an engine. So for our Azure Databricks, we have something called as an Apache Spark, which is nothing but an analytical engine. So using this analytical engine, we basically process large amounts of data sets. All right. Again, so there are different definitions or different ways we can say what a Databricks is actually. So if you see here, Azure Databricks is also a collaborative cloud based environment where who all will be performing, who all can make use of this particular cloud environment. We have data analysts, data scientists, and data engineers. So data engineers are who are data engineers? We are data engineers. Okay. So inside this data engineer concept, we'll be having data factory, data bricks, synapse, these all will be there, right? So the role is data engineer. So not only us, who all can make use of this particular cloud-based environment, data scientists, data analysts, and data engineers. Okay, so these all people can work in a single workspace, in a single unified environment, so that they can make use of the different workload, whatever the work would be present. So in tomorrow I'll be telling you how to create a notebook. So inside that notebook, how to create a particular code, I'll be telling you. So that particular notebook is not only visible to you, but it is visible to everybody who has access to that particular portal. Okay. So collaborative cloud environment wherein these all people, like data analysts, data scientists, and data engineers can work in a single workspace. Why do they work on a single workspace? Because they might be having some analysis to perform. They might be needing some analysis purpose, or to run their data, or to perform different kinds of analysis or processing or data transformations. So for that reason, they will be sharing the single workspace, and they'll be perform their, based on their requirement, they'll be trying to perform their different analysis on the massive amounts of data. Okay. So just try to understand what is this Azure Databricks. If anybody asks you what an Azure Databricks is, you will have to remember these things. Okay. Implementation, it's an implementation of Apache Spark on Azure. And you can also say this Azure Databricks as Databricks with the combination of cloud. Okay, enterprise cloud. Databricks has been collaborated with enterprise cloud, and along with that, it has, which engine it has? It has Apache Spark engine. So using this engine only, we will be able to compute anything much faster. All right, because we will be dealing with huge amounts of data, right? So in order to work with huge amounts of data, in order to transform that data, process that data, we need a very high speed engine. So what is the engine we have? We have Apache Spark engine. Okay, so basically Azure Databricks is nothing but Databricks which has been collaborated on this enterprise cloud, which will in turn has been implemented on Apache Spark analytical engine. Okay, remember this also. So I've told you, right? Apache Spark is an analytical engine which is used for processing huge amounts of data on large data sets. Okay, huge amounts of data for processing huge amounts of data, or else large data sets, whatever. So is it clear? So till here, is it clear, guys? Like Azure Databricks, you got to know what this Databricks does.
Yes, ma'am. For me, it is.
Okay. If you see here, it is fast, easy, and collaborative Apache Spark based big data analytical service, which is designed for data science and data engineering. So these all people can collaboratively work in a single unified environment, and they can perform their analysis services. All right. Okay, if you see here, Databricks offers three environments for developing data in intensive applications for Databricks. So in Databricks, right, we have different kinds of languages. So if you are if you are aware of Python, you can if you already learned Python, you can make use of this PySpark language in our Databricks. If you are aware of SQL, we have Spark SQL. If you are aware of R, you can use R, PySpark, R, SQL, Scala. So these are the four different languages available. So in whichever language you are comfortable, right, in that particular language, you can write your code. Okay. So in this session, in Databricks sessions, right, I will be discussing about the usage of PySpark. Okay, Python on Spark. All right. So let me quickly. Okay. So initially you understood what an Azure Databricks is. So now let me tell you what how does this particular Databricks architecture will look like. So this is something wherein your Azure Databricks architecture will look like. Okay. So here what all things you'll be having, you have different people, like different data science, data scientists, data engineers, and then data analysts will be there, right? So these all are the different kinds of people who will make use of our Azure Databricks. Okay, so here under the people, what all I have data scientists, data engineers, data analysts. So it could be anything, line of business, whatever. So these all people can unifiedly work on a single environment, which is our Azure Databricks. Okay. So if you see here, this I'll tell you in little while. This is the Azure Databricks wala data flow architecture. So in our Azure Databricks, what all components we have? We have Databricks related workspace we have. Okay, so this is the workspace wherein you will be creating your notebooks. Okay, you'll be creating your notebooks, dashboards, whatever. So inside that notebooks you will be writing in whichever language you want. In that particular language you'll be writing the code, you'll be executing it, and once you execute that particular code, there itself you can see the output also. Okay, so inside our Databricks workspace only, we will be creating our notebooks and we will be writing it. So not only that, works in workspace, right? We will be having different kinds of notebooks, libraries, dashboards. So these all things will be present inside a particular Databricks workspace. So in some time, I'll show you how to create a workspace, and I'll also give you the overview of this particular workspace. Okay. So basically just understand that using this particular workspace, right, this is an environment which is used for accessing all the different Databricks assets. Okay, we have different kinds of libraries. We have, if you want to make use of any particular file inside your inside your Databricks file system, you can do that. If you want to have access to a particular library, you can do that. If you want to make use of a what I call a notebook, you can do that. So these all are nothing but this is a basically unified environment which is basically used for accessing all the Databricks assets. So that is inside your Databricks workspace. And then I have something called as a Databricks workflow. So using this workflow is nothing but the flow from one particular location to another particular location, right? Like how the data will be present. So I'll also tell you how this, once I execute a particular notebook, right? So I'll create a sample code and I'll try to execute that. So internally what will happen, the Spark architecture, how is it written, that related workflow also I'll explain. Okay. So for any for Data Factory, we have this integration runtime wala concept, right? So similarly here also we have something called as Databricks runtime. So when you create a cluster, we have something called as a cluster. So basically using cluster only, we will be executing a particular notebook. Okay, for a notebook we have something called as a cluster attached. So for that initially we will have to configure a cluster. So what is this cluster again? So cluster is nothing but, as in our data flow transformations, as we have data flows, right, we have dealt with a data flow debugger wala option we had. So I have told you that, right there, once you on that data flow debugger, it will internally try to acquire a cluster, or else it will internally try to associate a resource. Okay, so only once the resource is available, you will be able to execute that particular scenario or a data flow, whatever pipeline or data flow, whatever is there, right? Once the data flow debugger is switched on, only you can execute it. So similarly, here we have something called as Databricks runtime. So this runtime, in this particular runtime, right, in order to run a particular notebook, there in order to run a pipeline or a data flow transformation, you need the data flow debugger, which is nothing but a cluster again. So here also, if you want to, if you have written a code in your notebook and if you want to run the code in that particular notebook, you have something called as a cluster. Okay, you have something called as a cluster. So you, once the cluster is switched on only, if it is up and available, up and running only, you will be able to use that particular cluster and execute the code written. All right, so for that we have Databricks runtime version. So this runtime version also, there are few different Databricks runtime versions available. So I will also show you that once I create the workspace. Okay. All right. So how to create a cluster, how many kinds of clusters are available, what are the different nodes which are present in a cluster also, I'll tell you. All right. So after that, what do we have? We have this Databricks input and output. So this is input and output is nothing but what is the input to your particular notebook, particular Databricks account. What is the output for that? That is nothing but your input and output. And coming to this Databricks serverless. So actually, we have something called as Databricks serverless architecture. So here, what will happen is, so if you have any particular resources you have, and if you want, if you have something like nodes you have, and if you want to perform auto scaling or tuning or security isolations, right? So for that point of, at that point of time, we'll make use of this Databricks serverless wala architecture. Okay, so what is this auto tuning? Again, I'll tell you when I'm creating the cluster. Okay, so basically, when do we make use of this Databricks serverless architecture? If you want to have something called as if you want your Databricks to give your optimal performance, if you want it to minimize the cost, so at that point, auto scale based on the cost, right? So if you are using, if your workload is more, and based on the workload, if you automatically want to auto scale the nodes, right? So at that point of time, we have some option called as auto scaling option, that again I'll be covering in the cluster in just a while. Okay, and security. So Databricks also has, for any particular this if you are dealing with any particular data flow, data factory or Databricks or SQL, whatever, will be having some security right internally. So that is nothing but a Azure Databricks enterprise security wala concept here. Okay, so for any particular code or whatever, others cannot, it shouldn't go into the bad hands, wrong hands, right? So for that purpose, we also have the security kind of concept here. Okay, so that security kind of concept again, right? You can make use of something called as Azure Key Vaults. So using that Azure Key Vaults, we can store our passwords, and then you can just refer to that particular key vault using that particular reference. One reference name will be there. So using that also, you can just refer it. Okay, that is when, if you do not want to expose your whatever access tokens or secrets or passwords, whatever, right? So those things, if you do not want to expose to the outside world, then we can make use of our Azure key vaults wala concept. Okay, so this is basically the architecture of our Azure Databricks. So using this Databricks wala architecture after this, right? So here we will create notebooks, we'll create initially we'll start with creating a workspace. All right, so initially we'll start with creating a workspace. In that workspace only, I'll create a cluster, and I'll tell you the different what are the different clusters are available, how many types of clusters are available, what are the different modes of clusters. So initially we'll start with a workspace. Inside that workspace, we have something called as a cluster. So once the cluster you have created, you can create a notebook, and in that notebook you can just write the code. Okay, so once you write the code, the code could be like different transformations or different actions for analysis purpose, right? You have some data. Okay, if you have some raw data or some data you have, and if you want to work with that particular data, you will basically apply different kinds of transformations and actions, filtering, sorting, merging, whatever. Okay, these all are nothing but data transformations and actions. So once you perform those transformations, actions, and processing of data, the data would be refined, right? It will not be like huge amounts of data. So we will be performing filtering, sorting, merging, joins, different kinds of transformations will be there. So on that data, we will be applying transformations. So once we apply, the data would be refined, right? So once the data is refined, once the analysis has been performed on that data, we will be giving that data to different kinds of applications. Okay, so be it, we can either give it to our Azure Data Factory. Okay, so from this Azure Databricks, right, once we have refined the data, okay, once we applied our different transformations, we have a refined data. So that data we'll be giving it to our it could be our Azure Data Factory, it could be our storage accounts like blob storage or data lake storage, or else if you want to further analyze it, we will be giving it to machine learning or deep learning. This is also again a Azure based service. And then we can also give it to streaming data. Streaming data is nothing but live data. Okay, we can give it to the streaming data. So these all are the different kinds of applications to which we can give our analyzed or refined data. What are they are deep learning purpose, for machine learning purpose, for streaming related applications. We have something called as data warehousing concepts. So here we will be mainly dealing with SQL related services. SQL related statements, queries will be there, right? So in this data warehousing, it is basically more on to SQL related service. So the data, whichever we got, right, the refined data, we'll be giving it to our data warehousing, streaming data, the this particular service, or else we can even give it for our Power BI people. So if we give it for our Power BI people, they will perform the data. The data will be the input for this Power BI people, and based on the data, they will be performing. They will be creating their reports, dashboards, something like visualization kind of thing will be available, right? Like if you want to visualize the data, you can make use of a bar diagram or a pie chart diagram. So these are nothing but a reports or dashboards. Okay, so these people will take the data from Azure Databricks. That is one of the input for this Power BI people. This is nothing but it is a again cloud based tool. Okay, so this is a cloud based tool again. So for this there is a separate team will be available. So as a data engineer, you don't have to worry about this Power BI reporting and all, because there will be a dedicated team who will be creating their reports, who will be visualizing the data, who will generate the reports. They'll create in the format of pie charts, bar diagrams, line diagrams. So different kinds of representations of data will be available. So based on their requirement, they'll be visualizing the data and taking it forward. Okay, so that and all, it is not essential for us. So what is required as a data engineer for Databricks is you should understand this particular architecture, and after that there could be other applications which could take your refined data as an input, and they can do their own analysis on that particular data. All right, so till here, is it clear, guys? This is the very much overview of our Azure Databricks. So if it is clear, I'll start with creating a workspace. How to create our Azure Databricks workspace, I'll tell you. Okay, so shall I start with creation of Azure Databricks workspace? Is it clear, guys?
Uh,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. For me.
Okay. Okay. Let me get it open. So as you create your Azure Data Factory from here, right? You can either go here, or else you can go to the all services here, and you can search for Databricks. Okay, so under which category we have our Databricks? In the initial sessions I've told you, it is present inside our
Integration,
analytics. Under
analytics.
integrations, we have Data Factory. Okay, under analytics, we have Azure Databricks. So basically, you can either go from here, or else better just search it. Azure Databricks. So here there is only one workspace created. So I'll try to show you this particular workspace. And again, what is a workspace? Inside our workspace, we will be creating, inside our Databricks workspace, we will be creating notebooks, we'll be creating clusters, we'll be creating, we'll make use of, we will actually import the files. Okay, we'll import the files and make use of those files, read those files, write onto those particular Databricks file system inside a Databricks workspace. Okay, so basically these all concepts you will be using here. All right, so here I will try to create a new workspace. Just click on create option, create an Azure Databricks workspace. Let me minimize this. So obviously the subscription is free trial version. So just give me 1 minute quickly, I want to check one thing. Shh. So this particular credentials will expire soon. So I just want to see that when is it going to expire? Because remember one thing, whenever you are using this Databricks workspace, and inside that we have something called as cluster. Okay, so as we have data flow, those data flow debugger, if it is switched on, what will happen? I told you it will be a, right? So be very careful with this cluster also. So I'll tell you how to create a cluster. So inside that cluster also, whenever you're not using, it's always the best option is to stop the cluster. Okay, so I'll tell you about that. So let me just check when is the validity till when we have this particular account. It is loading. Okay. Load. Okay, so the resource group is what? What is the resource group actually? December, January. This is the resource group. So you just free trial version, you just choose your resource group. And then you just specify some name for that particular workspace. So ADB is December, January. I have just specified some name. So if it is correct, if it is valid, right, it will show you a check mark, or else it will show you the error. So and then let it be this one, the region, the pricing tier, whatever these all things are present, right? So let those be like that only, not an issue. So here, right, for a particular any service to use, so since you are using a cloud based service, so if you want to use a particular service which is hosted, which is provided by the third party, right, here Microsoft is a provider. So if you are using a particular service, then for that service we'll have to pay for that particular service, right? So here we have something called as a pricing tier category. So here we have three different options. So one is free trial version. If you see here, this is the premium free trial version. In this particular version, we'll be getting 14 days free and DBUs, Databricks units we call them. So we have standard mode, we have premium mode. Obviously standard will have default related features will be present. So here we have something called as Azure Active Directory related Apache Spark. So some standard based means these are the different kinds of features which we'll be getting. If you make use of the premium, right, so the price for the standard would be a little lesser compared to your premium. Obviously if you choose this premium in our client based projects, right, we'll be choosing this particular premium option. So using this premium option, what will happen, you can actually get more different kinds of features. Okay, so just give me 1 minute, guys, I'm so sorry for this. All right. So here we have created the workspace and the region and the pricing tier. So based on the pricing tier you choose, right? So based on that, you will be charged a few dollars. Okay. If you are choosing, since it is a free trial version, you are getting 14 days free DPUs. So actually, right, if you choose standard or premium, so based on the tier which you have chosen, you will be getting few features. And if you choose this premium, right, it on top of your standard, it will be something your premium, and this will obviously be a little more expensive per DBUs. Okay, we have something called as Databricks units. So based on that, we will be charged. So for whatever service you are using on that particular service, you will be charged. Let me go to this networking tab. Next, review and create, and then create. So it will take a little while. So meanwhile, it will actually try to initialize the deployment, submit the deployment, and this workspace service, right, it will be available for us to use in a while. So if you see here, this billing will expire on 23rd Jan. We only have few days. Meanwhile, let me just quickly check something else also. Still getting deployed. Abba. This is some other person's account. Let it be. What else can I do? So once we create this workspace, I'll show you how to create a cluster also. So, once this deployment has been finished, right, I will tell you about the cluster overview and how to create a cluster, what all are the different kinds of clusters are present, right? So I'll tell you about that. Deployment finished. So if you see here, the details are getting loaded here. This is our resource group, whatever details we have specified, right? So those are things. And if you see here, this is my Databricks wala URL. Okay, so this is one of the URL with which I can access. So this is my managed resource group. Okay, these are the details which we will be getting once you create your resource group. Sorry, once you create your workspace. So if you see here, once you click on your particular so these all are the different services, right? So data factory is a service, Databricks is a service, and then we have Synapse, and then we have data warehousing. So these all are the different kinds of services. So these all services will be available inside the resource group. So if you have created under one resource group, right, so these all are the services which will be specified inside that particular service. Okay. So this is nothing but your data bricks symbol is there, right? Are you able to see the brick symbol? So this is the first brick, second, third, fourth, like that. So that is why they have just specified some logo which is in the format of brick symbol. Okay. So here if we want to just go through some of the documentations which are available on this portal also, you can just do that. Let me click on this launch workspace wala option. So actually there is not much of a difference between your projects which you will be working and this free trial version. Everything is same. It's just that, here we are using our credit card or else our someone else's credit card, but there we will be having here at the rate Gmail is there, right? There at the rate that particular domain.com. Those you will be assigned to some particular account will be created for your particular resource. So for that particular user ID you'll be using and the password you'll be using, and you'll just access it. That's it. So if you see here, this is the portal, this is the web page. Once you click on the launch workspace of your Azure Databricks, so this is the main page. Okay. So if you see here what all things I have on this particular workspace, since I have just created this, right? So here, okay. So if you see here, on this particular Azure Databricks, if you want, you can just explore the quick start tutorial. So this will give you some tutorial related basic kind of concepts. It will just give you. Okay, and after that, if you want to import any particular data, suppose if you want to make use of a data, so basically Databricks is nothing like it is used for transforming, right? So for that you need to give the data, right? So that data you can just import that data here. So once you import it, where will that be imported? That will be imported on your DBFS, which is your Databricks file system. So once you import that particular data here, you can just make use of that data and then perform different kinds of transformations, actions, or whatever. Okay, so here you can just import your whatever data you have, be it a CSV file, XML file, JSON file, Excel file, whatever file format you have, right? That particular file you can just import it here. And then once you create a cluster, I mean, once you have your notebook, you can just create a notebook here. So notebook is a place wherein you can write your code. I have told you, right? You can just write any piece of code inside that particular notebook. So that code, it could be in any language. So you can just write that particular code inside your notebook. Okay. So you can just create your notebook from here. And then this is nothing but for this particular Databricks related release notes. So what all are the different release notes versions are available? So those few documentation related concepts are available here. So if you have time, just go through this release notes and documentations. Okay, so under this recent tab again, so if you have created a notebook, if you have created a cluster, or if you had done some any kind of thing, anything which you have performed, right? So those will be available inside your recents wala tab here. Okay, here those will be displayed. So these all are the common types of tasks which we'll be dealing with. Like if you want to make use of a new notebook, you can just do that. If you want to create a table, if you want to create a cluster, a new job, so these all things are there, right? You can just create it from here also. So this is the overview of just this particular space. So on the left hand side panel, right, we have, what do we have? I have something called as, initially I have data science and data engineering. Okay, so basically I have told you, right, like a data scientist, data analyst, data engineers will be using this particular workspace toolkit. So here you can see data science, data engineering people, then machine learning, so whatever. So these all are the different kinds of people who will be making use of our particular data bricks account. Okay, so after that, what do I have? If you click on this create, right, so you have something called as notebooks, tables, clusters, jobs. So if you want to create a notebook, just click here. If you want to create a table, you can click here. If you want to create a cluster is what again? It is used to perform any kind of computations or those things I've told you, right? So if you want to perform any kind of computations, you need a cluster. So once you have your cluster, you can just make use of, once you have your cluster, you can just make use of that particular cluster, and then you can perform your coding part or whatever. Okay, so this cluster part I'll tell you later. So now once you click on this create option, you have these all different kinds of options which are available. To create a notebook, why do we create a notebook? To write some particular code. So again we have something called as tables and then clusters. So cluster is to execute the notebook which you have created, right? So for that purpose you should have your cluster. So this job, again, like in our data factory we had triggers, right? So basically to automate your pipeline, you have your trigger. So here also we have a job. So this job is nothing but to automate your particular notebook which you have written. So to automate that, to execute that at a particular specified amount of time, so if you have some time on which you want it to be executed, so for that you will be creating this job. Okay, after that, workspace. So in workspace, you are not the only person who will be using this workspace, right? So this workspace could be shared among multiple users. Okay, it could be shared among multiple users. So if you have created any, if there are multiple notebooks which are available, off karo. So if you have, if there are many people, right, so those many people, if each and every person is creating few notebooks, so if you want to view those notebooks also, you can just view it. Okay, so since this under this particular user, I am the only one, right? So that is why at gmail.com. So in your offices, you will be having this at the rate of your domain.com, something like that. And inside that, you will be having in under this, right? You will be if you have created few notebooks, right? So those notebook related, that notebook names would be present here. So if you want, if you just click on that particular notebook, you will be able to see the code which is present. So similarly, if you want to see under a specific, if you have silent कर दो उसको. If you have if there are multiple people who are using this same workspace, right? So for that particular multiple people, right, if they have created their specific notebooks, so those notebooks also you can just view them here. Okay, so after that, what else we have? We have repos. a repository we have. So once you write your code, you need to move it to further environments, right? So here we have something called as check-in checkout concept. So that devops team will be there. So that team will actually take care of the deployment related concepts. Okay, so repository is nothing but we have a repository wherein if you want whatever code which you have written, whatever notebooks you have written, right? So if you want to move that particular code from one environment to another environment, you basically make use of this repository option. So for this, we have a dedicated team, which is our DevOps team, who will take care of that. Okay. All right. So after that, what do we have here? Recents. So basically recents are something, if you have since I have not done anything here, that is why nothing is getting displayed. But then if you create a cluster, if you create a notebook or whatever, right, in the main page also we were able to see this particular recents wala tab, right? So those all whatever are present, right, so those all will be appeared here. And then there's data. So if your cluster is available only, you will be able to see what all of the databases are available, what all tables are available, and all these related concepts, right? You will be able to see only once you have your cluster up and running. So how to create a cluster? So here you have something called as this compute option is there, right? If you see here, compute, some cloud symbol is there, and inside that we have three different nodes. Okay, so this is nothing but your cluster. So if you want to create your cluster, right, you can just come here and create a cluster. So in the next session, I'll try to tell you about this creation of a cluster, what are the three different categories of clusters are available, and all I'll tell you in the next session. Okay, and then jobs. If you see here, like we schedule a pipeline, we can schedule a notebook. So how can you do that? Using this create job wala option here. Okay, so basically if you want to apply the scheduling to your Databricks notebook, or you, if you have designed a few notebooks, if you have developed a few notebooks, and for that particular notebooks, if you want to schedule them based on some time limit, so you can just make use of that job option here available, which is available here, and you can just schedule it. All right, and then help. Settings tab. Mute रख उसको. Settings tab. Here we have. Here we have user settings, admin console, manage account. So manage account is something like, if you have something related to your account. So if you want to manage that particular account, you can just go to this tab. What happened? This is Data Factory. Okay, so here we have settings. So from here, right, we will be actually doing few things here. So I'll tell you about how to get this new token and when to make use of that new token in the future session. And we have different kinds of settings related to account. You can just go here. This is something like admin related. People will actually make use of this particular admin console. User settings will be present. So inside this user settings only, we'll be performing one of the options which we will be performing is to generate some tokens here. So based on that tokens only we'll be working. So I'll also tell you that in the future sessions. Okay. ये क्या करती हूँ मैं? Okay, so this is your related to your account. If you want to log out or do any actions here, you can just do that. Okay, so basically this is the overview of our Azure Databricks wala account. So let me know if you have any doubts here. So in today's session, I have discussed about Azure Databricks, its overview, what is our Azure Databricks and what is its architecture, and I have also told you how to create Azure Databricks wala workspace. Okay, so since I have done with today's architecture, I couldn't cover this cluster overview and its creation. So in tomorrow's session, I'll do that. Okay, this also I'll tell you in tomorrow's session. All right, is it clear, guys?